Good ball played in for Tony Morley. Oh, he must be! And it is! Peter Will!
Okie dokie. Hello and welcome to another episode of Gather Round Again. Here we are live in the studio. Hopefully everything is running smoothly and you can all hear me. Aston Villa 3, Hibernian 0. Aston Villa are now officially through to the magic, the splendor, the prestige of the Europa Conference League group stages. It's official. It happened. Aston Villa will be playing in European competition throughout the winter months. And this is splendid. Now, what this potentially was, this Hibs tie, some people suggested that this could be a potential banana skin for Aston Villa. And what it turned into was actually I guess, less a banana skin, more of a banana fudge sundae. Beautiful. We've cruised through 8-0 on aggregate. The first leg, obviously, we covered in some detail last week. The second leg was even more straightforward. And I suppose the only even minor issue that we've had is that that sadly, yes, hello Regan, let's go. Whoa, all right, here he is. All right, I'm checking on the chat this week. Last week I missed the chat, but it's live here. Hello to Regan, our friend and overlord, over at the magical under a gaslit lamp.com. There we go. I got it right this week. Thank you. The only slight wrinkle we've had in these first two fixtures in Europe is the unfortunate calf injury to Emi Martinez, which kept him out of the Burnley game. That didn't matter. Also kept him out of tonight's game. And Robin Olsen going down with some kind of injury at the end of the game there as well might be one to watch for the Liverpool game moving forward. Other than that, it was basically perfect from Aston Villa. And we even got to see some of our wonderful kids playing on the pitch tonight at Villa Park in the first European fixture hosted at the majestic, historic Villa Park for 13 long years. I suspect some people watching this stream do not even remember the last time that Aston Villa were in European competition proper. It was so long ago, but we did it. We qualified, and we qualified with aplomb, and we have done it really painlessly. So let's take a look at that starting 11. Here we go. Whoa, there it is. Okay, there it is. All right, we have the magic of some visual aids this week. So lining up, we had our friend, your friend and mine, Robin Olsen, in goal. Right back was actually Callum Chambers, not Ezri Konsa. And Konsa, for the first half at least, partnered our friend Pau Torres in the middle of the pitch. Youngster Dominic Revan, brother of Seb. Or was it Seb Revan, brother of Dom? I think it was Seb Revan. Anyway, one of the Revan brothers lined up at left back for us and played quite well in place of the rampaging Luca Dean, who we might talk about in some detail later on. Gingerbread Bailey lined up on the right-hand side, got himself a goal. Tielemans was kind of a left midfield / number 10, but it didn't really matter against his opposition, with Boubacar Kamara and Douglas Luiz in the middle. And a full Aston Villa competitive debut for the very exciting gentleman wearing 71. He's a big lad as well, Mr. Kellyman. So he played the full 90 minutes, looked really bright, actually laid on an assist for Leon Bailey's goal to make it 2-0 to Aston Villa. Really promising prospect for Aston Villa. And the next one off the taxi rank here. And we've got absolutely... Well, we're going to talk about the FFP and we're going to talk about the academy in some more detail in a moment. But you don't want to get carried away. He's only 17. It looks as though he's going to be sticking around for the foreseeable future in terms of us not loaning him out, and let's see how many minutes he gets. And then the number 24 scoring his first goal in European competition to follow up his goal against Everton a couple of weeks ago was, of course, our Colombian international young forward, 19-year-old John Duran. So John Duran absolutely smashing it there with a wonderful finish. Now this lad is really, really interesting because I think he is basically, I don't know, like he's doing John Fashanu things. Who's John Fashanu, I hear you say? Well, he was the host of Gladiators. Anyone? No? Gladiators? Yeah, so he was the host of Gladiators, which was a popular show in the 1990s. He was also a famous Wimbledon and eventual Aston Villa striker. This was the real Wimbledon before they were MK Dons. And his nickname was Fash the Bash. And he was so nicknamed because he basically spent his time roughing up defenders and roughing up players, just as this young man did. Although John Duran seems to be a much better athlete, seems to have a bit of speed and much better technical ability. And obviously the sky is the limit when you have this kind of physical profile. He's lean, he's fast, he's strong, he's aggressive. It seems like he can finish. Both the goals he's taken this season, the one against Everton and also, of course, the one that he scored tonight against Hibs. Very, very nice finishes indeed. And I think it's fair to say that with John Duran, we may be able to be a little bit calmer in regards to some of our concerns and some of our qualms over, and I'll speak for myself, over the exit of our young forward Cameron Archer. So let's have a little bit of a think about John Duran. Let's have a little bit of a consideration to what kind of player he could be, and he is he is. I mean, not potentially. He is the guy who comes in and starts up front for Aston Villa now, should anything happen to our non-England international at the moment. Thank you very much, Gareth Southgate. Ollie Watkins, because of course, Eddie Nketiah, yeah. But that is a different story for a different day. So John Duran is the replacement for Ollie Watkins. And while, yes, he is still incredibly raw, he will certainly get sent off, I would imagine, before his Villa career is through. And he most certainly will get plenty of yellow cards and he's just a real throwback in terms of his physicality, and his enthusiasm was kind of infectious throughout the whole game. So really exciting a prospect there that Aston Villa have on their hands. And we also saw some substitutions. I think that Unai Emery did a really good job during that game of making sure that while respecting the fixture and making sure that we were competitive and professional as we were in the first leg, he also switched out John McGinn, brought in John McGinn for Boubacar Kamara at half-time, switched out Esri Konza for Matty Cash at half-time, who got his third goal in 2.5 games. Goal-scoring streak for Matty Cash. Hopefully he can carry that into the fixture at Anfield at the weekend. And also we saw my friend and yours in his leather lederhosen, Big Daddy Donk. Yeah, back in the team, back in the side after a hiatus. There was some concern and speculation as to the future of old Big Daddy Donk, but it seems as though he will be staying at Aston Villa, at least through this transfer window, to supplement our squad and our central midfield and provide, perhaps, dare I say, some cover at centre-back. Those of you who watched Belgium at the most recent World Cup it wasn't last summer at all, was it? It was in the winter because it was in Qatar. Last winter, whoever saw Belgium last winter in the Winter World Cup in Qatar would have seen Big Daddy Donk lining up as a centre-back for Belgium. And perhaps he can do that for Aston Villa. Although, we do have a potential signing coming in of Big Daddy Longley to go with Big Daddy Donk. Daddy Longley, a name coined by our friend and gather around the lamp contributor and host, our dear friend Andy at K2 Villa on Twitter, if you want to give him a follow. So it's really interesting in terms of that dynamic to have Big Daddy Donk back, perhaps Longley coming in. Lots of people have been very, very upset with the Longley rumors and transfers, and that's a little bit curious to me. I don't know what kind of caliber of player you expect to sign on loan to cover the injury of Tyrone Mings in terms of having a ball-playing left-footed centre-half. But signing someone on loan from Barcelona, who's a full French international, won the Nations League with France, as Longley did, seems to me to be a pretty solid addition. Now, I know there are some people out there, as I am, that are lovers of Courtney Horse, but he has disappeared. Who knows if he's ever to be seen again. And while Courtney Horse is elite aerially and quite athletic when fit and very big and very strong, no one would ever confuse him with being a deep-lying playmaker of any kind, in fairness to old Courts. And also, I've actually seen some rumors. I don't know if I should speculate if it's fair or not. I've seen some rumors that Courtney Horse may actually be so severely injured following that issue he had at Watford that there was the whole hijinks about that his career could be in question. Certainly, he hasn't been seen by me on any of the Villa kind of pre-season or in season now as we are training collages or montages or photos. Certainly Courtney was not given a squad number or named as a member of our squad, and there has been, as far as I know, absolutely zero things in the way of transfer rumors regarding Courtney Horse. So I think, without being disrespectful or cruel, we may be able to suggest that Courtney Horse's Villa career may have come to its conclusion, which again, in terms of having some depth at left-sided centre-half, makes the signing of Longley all the more reasonable, all the more fathomable, and all the more important, because we cannot expect Pau Torres to be playing all of the games. We've just had a Carabao Cup draw as well. We're drawn at home to Everton in the next round of the Carabao Cup. Add that to our schedule in the league. Add that to our now confirmed schedule in the Europa Conference League. We do need depth. We do need choices, and we do need rotation options. And Longley seems to be a really smart pickup on loan for the season. And that gives opportunity for our favorite son on this podcast, Tyrone Mings, to get fit and healthy and return to his beautiful big self, wearing the Aston Villa number 5 shirt just as soon as he is able and ready. So, I kind of have moved along from the game there quite quickly because not really a lot more to add. A word for the Hibs goalkeeper, Mr. Marshall. I think David Marshall. I mean, you could have Marshall Mathers in there tonight. I mean, he was very bad. And as a Villa fan, I am a bit of an expert in bad goalkeepers because I've seen a number of very bad goalkeepers over the years. And this lad Marshall, he's one of them. But Hibs, in all fairness to them, they didn't roll over. They did come out to fight. There was some tasty tackles going in, I thought, particularly on Kellerman, that were a little bit over the line. But they absolutely came to fight. They didn't give up. They gave their best effort, and they kept their pride and their integrity. And the fans, certainly on my television feed over here on Paramount Plus, the Hibs fans were coming through in full voice with their chants of "Oh Flower of Scotland" and all those other things. So a great day out for them. Hopefully, certainly probably some gallows humour in there. We know all about that as Aston Villa fans from our relegation season. And credit to the Hibs fans. And hopefully everyone's getting home safely from Villa Park tonight, and there's no messy trouble or messy brawls or anything like that. So let's talk a little bit more about the transfer window. So my second magical graphic here, dun 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 dun, is the players out for Aston Villa in this transfer window. And it's a long old list. Cameron Archer, Aaron Ramsey, Lamar Bogard on loan, Finn Azaz, Wesley, dearly departed, Louis Barry under the loan, Morgan Sanson, Andy's second favourite player after Freddie Gilbert, also out on loan. Our old friend, our marvellous Goldfish, gone forever to Luton Town. Sinisalo out on loan. Ashley Young out for good, released on a free transfer. And, of course, our youngster Kane Kessler-Hayden teaming up with Finn Azaz at Plymouth now in the Championship. And Finn Azaz doing some bits as far as not Finn Azaz, sorry, Kane Kessler-Hayden doing some bits online and in online. I've seen him doing some bits online on videos and compilations from his recent appearances with Plymouth. There you go. We got there in the end. So what does this mean for Aston Villa? First of all, Villa have made a small fortune from the sales of Cameron Archer and Aaron Ramsey. Archer for a reported £18.5 million. Aaron Ramsey for a reported £14 million. Both of those players are said to have buyback clauses. So we're looking at over £32 million for those two. Keenan Davis, our old friend of the podcast as well, is rumoured to be moving to Udinese, which I did not have on my Keenan Davis bingo card. Keenan Davis rocking up in Serie A, potentially for £2 or £3 million, according to reports in The Athletic. Jaden Philogene, also potentially heading out the door for £5 million to Hull. Philip Coutinho, apparently also finalising a move to Qatar. I haven't seen a transfer fee mentioned, but the most important thing with little Phil is not necessarily a transfer fee, but certainly getting those absolutely astronomical wages off of our wage bill. I just want to focus for a little bit about on the exit of Philip Coutinho. Philip Coutinho was like a dream moment for me as an Aston Villa fan, signing Philip Coutinho. I don't remember ever having been as excited, maybe since I was a kid and Villa signed Stan Collymore for what was then our club record fee, I think of £7.5 million from Liverpool. I want to say in 1997, but happy to be proven wrong on that. And I think absolutely with the Coutinho move it's a bit of a shame, really. I think that this isn't through a player's lack of effort. This isn't through a player's lack of application. This is basically through a player's body no longer being able to cope with the physical demands of a Premier League season. We saw, or I saw, and probably you saw as well, lots of the social media training videos of Coutinho that he released during pre-season, him doing extra bits with a personal trainer. He came back looking sharp. He came back looking a little bit bulked up, a little bit more muscle on his body. And he looked really sharp in his substitute appearance, certainly against, Newcastle, the game was kind of dead and buried by the time he came on, but certainly against Everton, he looked really, really bright, only for him to go down, with minutes coming on with another, what looks like a lengthy injury. So there does have to be a point in time where you kind of hold your hands up and say, the mind is willing, but the body is not able. And that seems to be the case with Philip Coutinho at the top level. In terms of talent, he's certainly up there with, probably exceeds the talent of the players I've seen, the best players I've seen at Aston Villa over the years. I'm talking about the likes of Paul Merson, Jack Grealish, Ashley Young, Carboni was incredibly talented. Luke Nillis, for the couple of weeks we had him. Certainly Coutinho would probably be at the top of that pile in terms of pure footballing talent, pure footballing ability. But again, the problem is this is a guy whose body has essentially failed him. He's really has always struggled to complete 90 minutes for Villa. I think he's only completed 90 minutes for Aston Villa on 2 or 3 occasions, or very few occasions at least. And even he couldn't get through a kind of 20 to 25 minute cameo against Everton without breaking down. So kind of you have to say thank you and goodbye to Coutinho, because we're not in a position where we can be paying someone £150,000 a week to be on the treatment table, or to be someone who is only able to come on for cameos at 20 minutes to the end of the game. So it seems like him moving to Qatar, as has been rumoured, as has been mooted, is going to be in the best interest of all parties. He gets to go to a league which is, with respect, I would suggest, far less physically demanding. He gets to probably live in a climate which might be more appealing than that of Birmingham in January and February. So there's that to think of as well. And for Aston Villa, we get his wages off the books, which allows us hopefully to do some other bits and pieces in the market. And this is the other thing, looking at this list here of outgoings, that is a lot of players, and there's a big savings there in terms of wages and transfer fees. Ashley Young, we know, was on a big old pile of money, around £90,000 a week, reportedly. That is gone from the Villa wage bill. Morgan Sanson, again, on a decent wedge, rumoured to be certainly above the £60,000 a week range. And then you look at the likes of Wesley, who again was on a fair wedge because he was, believe it or not, our record signing not that long ago. So add that to the sale of Coutinho and add that to the transfer fees accumulated both for Archer, Ramsey, as well as Davis and Coutinho himself, who are rumored to be moving along. And Villa should have some serious wiggle room in terms of bringing in reinforcements towards the end of the window. Now, my only concern is there's rumours on Twitter, which is not necessarily the most reliable bastion of news, that Bertrand Traore may have been omitted from the squad today in the UEFA Conference League win against Hibs, because he could be on his way tomorrow on transfer deadline day. So I don't see a world where, and I'm not one of these hysterical fans that's like, we need to sign someone. I think we have enough, more or less. But if we were to see Coutinho, Jadon Philogene and Bertrand Traore leave tomorrow or before tomorrow's deadline, I think actually there might be a different deadline for Coutinho, so he may go a little bit later on. But if we were not to see another forward coming in, I would be quite surprised. I think that would be a little risky for Aston Villa. But again, in Unai we trust. We'll see what's going on. That is about all we have time for here today on Gather Round Again. Aston Villa playing Liverpool on Sunday. A big game. I would direct you to the main podcast available on all your podcasts, normal podcasts platforms. Gather Round the Lamp podcast. You can search it, throw it into your Google, and it will throw up the latest episode by Andy and Regan. A really good listen, and you'll be able to hear the full preview. Andy, actually, very rarely for Andy, went for a draw. Andy normally always predicts an Aston Villa win. So go there for your full Liverpool preview. I will throw my 2 cents in. I think it's going to be a Desmond Tutu, a 2-2 draw for Villa at Anfield, which I think will be a fantastic result going into the international break. And don't worry, Ezri. Don't worry, Ollie. Uncle Unai will take you into his sweet, loving arms. We don't need to worry about Gareth Southgate. All right. And on that note, that's it. Aston Villa are into the Europa League proper, which means you'll be seeing lots more of these shows throughout the winter, covering the Europa League progress. Thank you so much for tuning in. I have been Craig Storrod. This has been Gather Round Again, an Aston Villa podcast brought to you in association with the full show, Gather Round the Lamp. All right. Thank you so much. And of course, up the Villa. Thank you for tuning in to Gather Round Again, an Aston Villa podcast. Please like down below and subscribe. Up the Villa.
Daly and Atkinson on one of those great runs. What a run by Daly and Atkinson. Atkinson again. And it's quite